Everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Michael Roub. Michael, it's great to see you. You're a managing partner at Inflection 360, and it's great to have you on. You guys specialize in consulting with healthcare practices and really doing and just kind of teeing them up and maximizing the companies. So, as we sit here in 2022, moving out of a pandemic, how have strategic plans changed today versus 2 years ago?
Oh, that's a great question. First, John, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Particularly in the world, I spend majority of my life in the healthcare space, sometimes out of it, but in healthcare, certainly in the last 2 years, where you've started to see a lot of people sort of recognizing that they need to be thinking about exit plans differently.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot of healthcare providers and practices were just accustomed to kind of working their way close to retirement, selling out. Now, you've been seeing the shift coming, generally speaking, in the last several 5 to 10 years with group organizations, bigger dental organizations, medical practice groups, which created succession plans. But then you start seeing those doctors were sort of not interested in going that route. You've seen an increasing number looking to join on to group practices, which has really just given them a peace of mind that there's going to be a clean exit for them now or later, without all that, creating actually more value while having to struggle to find a way out the door at the end of their career.
Yeah, let's talk about exit plans a little bit more, because I think COVID did accelerate a lot of that for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
And so, are people looking now, just kind of dive into this, are they looking 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? How has the path to wanting to exit a business changed?
Well, I think those that are really thinking about it the right way are looking at that 3 to 5 year timeline, if not longer, giving themselves the runway to, whether it's healthcare or medical, any business, really giving themselves the runway to get the most out of the business, set it up for success. Because waking up today and saying I want to sell my business, you could speak to that. No one's going to get the best value for their business today if they haven't started planning and really preparing for it. So it is definitely a thought process, a succession plan, how to maximize the expenses of the business, really grow the revenue. So seeing a lot more people now with that conversation, that's always been my goal, is like, let's start talking 3 to 5 years from now where if you want to exit, even do the deal now where you're still on the path of employment.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we're starting to see that trend, is people are really recognizing the need to put in the time and the energy and really think about what makes sense for them too, what an exit might be. Sometimes it's just, if they're an actual active provider, how much of their own time. In another business, do they stay on part-time and exit out, or is it just a clean break? So I think those questions all are much more pertinent now than they were in people's minds, at least a few years ago.
I would think more clarity. Let me ask you a question let's talk about the buyers. Right. So you work with companies on the sale of their companies.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think that the buyers have expanded to more people who see themselves, in that role of wanting to have their own business and not start from scratch, but really, take their expertise and put it into a company that they can buy and scale versus start from scratch, especially in a post-COVID world where people are more in line with their values and what they want, and the whole element of that. Can you kind of talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can, and I do live in both sides of that universe, so the buy and the sell side, and where I can speak really heavily about the buy side is in the private equity space, and I've seen so many more opportunities for smaller businesses, smaller growth businesses, being able to attract capital from really some pretty strong private equity groups who are willing to go in earlier into practices now, and other business, because it's an increasingly competitive environment, but B, I think it's also, to your point, we know what works in our business model. If we get in the door early enough, we can get it at a better value, and we know how to scale these things up in a hurry. We'll bring and so you see leadership being brought from one private equity backed company to the next one that they're doing, or a subsequent deal. and sort of, as opposed to reinventing the wheel, let's saying this worked for us before, let's just do it again and replay it. And so I see a lot of ongoing value creation that way, and it's making those earlier stage companies, even if they've been around for a lot of years, but smaller businesses, much more attractive for to these groups that can really feel that they can put their hands on it.
When a company is looking at their 3-5 year-ish plans, what are the 1 or 2 things that you work with them on to highlight where the biggest value creation is?
Yeah, that's another good question. I think that there's such a focus on growing the top line that I think growing the revenue that I think sometimes there's they take a short view on looking at expense management, getting the most out of their staff, and so it's really try to hone in on that and understanding what's working well and what's not working well within the group. Sometimes they actually have to put more expense into the business in some areas to get better profits out.
Yeah.
But I really do think it's that increasingly learn to focus on the bottom line, the EBITDA, the profit of the business, as opposed to just thinking revenue. And that I find is often, particularly some of these earlier or smaller businesses, that there's so much focus on revenue and not on the overall profitability of the group. And that's shifting mindset is what's going to drive value.
Yeah, I love the mindset I think is huge. If someone were to go to your website, inflection360.com, they can download the 10 strategies, to maximize if you're looking to sell your business. Yeah. What's one strategy of those 10 that is usually the one that people say, oh, I really wasn't thinking about that one?
Well, I think the one which we already touched on is really that, if you want to really get the most out of your practice, particularly in the world, like when I think of world healthcare, where you're actually, these doctors tend to be, as much as they're the revenue source in many of the cases, even if they have a larger group, is not to wait to sell until you're ready to exit, but it is that planning process, that 6 to 12 months. And whether it's working with me or somebody like me, or really working on your own, but having a business plan is critical.
Yeah.
Revisiting your business plan is even more critical, because everything, I've been doing this for 25 years and I can make the best projections of the world. And the only thing I promise is they're wrong. Something changes. Right. No matter how smart you are, you're always wrong.
Right.
But it's informative and learning to grow the business. So if you're thinking about exiting even 3 to 5 years from now, it's looking at yourself now, understanding where you're trying to get to, and then what steps you need to pragmatically take to get there, and being very, and really planning at a minimum a year out from when you want to exit, but really it should be 3 to 5.
As a business coach, I always talk about a business plan when I'm working with my clients as a living document that should be looked at every morning and every night. Even if it's for 1 minute, to tweak it and evolve it in real time based on anything that's changing in the world that could affect your business. My last question to you is about leadership, because growth, with mindset, with ideas, with strategy, with business plans. One of the things I talked about it today when I was doing a talk for Vistage, was the power of leadership. And so talk in just a couple sentences, how important is leadership to grow the company?
If you're going to grow a company, you need a team around you that's going to be successful. So you have to give people the opportunity to be successful and to grow themselves, or the business can't really grow success, for the long term. And so I think it's understanding how to play to people's strengths, recognizing where there's opportunities for growth, and empowering the team around you. And that, to me, the leadership is really not showing how much you know, but helping to get the best out of the people who,
Amen.
On some levels, they're going to know things better than you do, right? It's, it might be your own business, but your billing manager or your AP persons might know things about your business that they should know better than you in some capacity. Yeah. And I think you really have to trust that.
Quick 15-second speed round. Favorite book and why?
I love the Steve Jobs biography, because he tells you all the great things and all the things you hate about him at the same time.
I know it was a frustrating one. I read it and I ended up not really liking who he was, even though he's so brilliant. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
You know what? I like Mark Cuban's "Perfection is the enemy of success."
Yeah, that's a good one.
Piece of wisdom.
Yeah, I love it. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you, Michael.
I like anyone that's feeling like there's growth potential in their business, but they're not sure how to go to that next level, whether it's thinking acquisition, internal strategy. I like challenges. So I like groups that want to get hands-on and really talk about their business and how we can make it more successful. I do a lot in the healthcare space, but I've worked with a lot of companies outside of healthcare as well. And I think anyone who believes that they have the ability to grow their business and change and do things better, I think they should always be constantly looking for information and people who can help them in that path. And those are the kind of the CEOs and business owners that I really get a lot of fun working with.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be on Think Business. Think Community. Thanks so much for joining us. And Michael, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. This is great. Thank you.
Inflection360.com, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.